So it is Sunday the 17th of July 2016. I'm in front of the Unitarian Church of Montreal, and we're looking at a chalk slogan I wrote. You can't wash away sins with water. And we got some people heading into the church there. So this slogan refers to the fact that, somewhat earlier, a member of the church came out and washed away the slogan that was originally there. The slogan originally said, you use, cover up and deny you use, cover up and deny child sex abuse, if I'm remembering correctly. So one more time, you use, cover up and deny child sex abuse. And the attitude of this Montreal Unitarian and other Unitarians is, instead of dealing responsibly with the issue of Unitarian Universalist cover-up and denial of pedophilia and rape and other less serious forms of clergy sexual misconduct, they're much more interested in covering up the cover-up. And in doing so, they're covering up the clergy sex abuse itself, because they're hiding the fact that Unitarian Universalists cover up pedophilia and rape and other clergy sexual misconduct. Thus, they're indirectly covering up the clergy misconduct itself. So we'll come along here. That's two slogans, and I rewrote another slogan that had been erased. Unitarians cover up and deny pedophilia and rape. The previous slogan was a little bit less hard-hitting, and I think it just said, whatever. It was more or less the same thing, but it wasn't quite as detailed as this one. It was very basic. So I wrote a more detailed slogan in response to having my slogan erased. And this is pretty well par for the course. If Unitarian Universalists try to cover up and hide their clergy sex abuse problem, to say nothing of their cover-up problem, the more I talk about it. If Unitarian Universalists want me to talk less about their clergy sex abuse problem and their cover-up of clergy sex abuse problem, the best thing they could do is deal responsibly with those two problems. But instead, they continue to try and cover them up by erasing my chalk slogans and so on. And it's actually, there's more to it than just covering up and erasing my chalk slogans. They've actually done far worse things in their efforts to cover up and deny pedophilia and rape. They've falsely accused me of the criminal act of blasphemous libel and Bill Cosby-style legal bullying that seeks to intimidate me into removing blog posts that tell the truth about Unitarian Universalist ministers who are guilty of committing pedophilia and rape, or pedophilia or rape. So in any case, the covering up of and erasing of my chalk slogans is actually at the low end of the scale, but it's also just very graphic, very illustrative of, how Unitarian Universalists respond when people bring up the issue of clergy abuse of any kind, but especially the worst forms of clergy sex abuse. Instead of forthrightly dealing with their concerns, they just try to silence them. They just try to keep everything hidden as much as they think they can. And at least in my case, the result is I speak up all the louder. Yes, sir?
This is interesting.
Yeah, it sure is. It's even more interesting when I tell you that one of the ways they cover up pedophilia and rape is by having me served with a cease and desist demand letter, which accuses me of the criminal act of, get this, blasphemous libel.
Really? So you were a victim of this?
No, I'm not. I wasn't actually a victim. I just blogged about it.
Oh, okay.
I blogged about some cases of sex abuse of children in the church, because they do have that problem, and in their efforts to hide it. I mean, there's many other ways they try to hide it.
So did you do this?
Yes, I wrote this. This is my protest.
This is all your stuff.
Yeah. So, and in fact, the reason there's more rather than less slogans is because they already washed away too. The more they wash away, the more I write. So.
All right. Well, it's important work, and certainly it reminds me of that movie Spotlight, which you probably.
Well, exactly. No, and the funny thing is the Catholic Church gets all the attention.
Yeah.
They've actually been more successful in covering stuff up.
Yeah.
I actually tried to get the Boston Globe and the Spotlight team to report on the Unitarians, because the Unitarians are based in Boston. Their headquarters are in Boston. So you'd think that's something the Boston Globe would cover.
What motivates you to take such a active position on this?
Well, I was subjected to non-sexual clergy abuse, so verbal abuse, psychological abuse, slander, libel, that kind of stuff from this church.
Really?
And it was as a result of that and dealing with that I became aware of the sexual stuff.
Okay, I'm off to the office, but good luck.
Right, thank you. Right, okay, bye-bye.
How are you?
Oh, I'm fine. I love being accused of blasphemy by Unitarians. It's a huge honor and privilege. So this guy's going to church. The nice guy waving and saying how he now. I haven't seen him before. He could just be a member of the public. But one of the things that Unitarian Universalists like to do, not all of them, but a certain percentage, to sort of assuage their guilt, is to be nice to the protester. So I'm not accusing that guy of that, because I don't know who he is. He's not a regular church member as far as I know. But it's, he was sort of, nice, wave, hello, how are things going, while blissfully ignoring the protest. That's a typical way in which Unitarian Universalists engage in psychological denial and willful ignorance of, such things as Unitarian Universalists misusing blasphemy law to cover up pedophilia and rape committed by Unitarian Universalist ministers and Unitarian Universalist Sunday school teachers, etc. So I see my sensor's overheating, and I want to keep this short, so I'm just going to wrap it up now. So in case I didn't mention it, it's Sunday the 17th of July 2016, and I'm engaged in my alternative spiritual practice, also known as important work, according to the guy I was talking to, protesting against not only Unitarian Universalist clergy abuse, but also Unitarian Universalist cover-up and denial of clergy abuse of all kinds, not just pedophilia and rape, not just clergy sexual abuse, but non-sexual forms of clergy abuse as well. But the emphasis these days, thanks to the UUA accusing me of blasphemous libel in an effort to cover up pedophilia and rape, is on the worst forms of clergy sex abuse, which are pedophilia and rape and maybe one or two other things. That's it for now.